guys, okay, so this is the first of the PowerPoints for this unit, which is on deliveries, it's chapter 15. It is going to be the longest one. The other three are much shorter because I figured we have so much content to go through. I didn't want you guys to have to sit there and listen for like 5 hours to me lecturing. So, but this is probably the most important and the most new information of the 4 chapters that we're looking at in the next 2 weeks. So delivery is about how you act and speak during a speech. And one of the things that really affects it is public speaking apprehension. So what is public speaking apprehension? Well, public speaking apprehension is the level of fear a person experiences with anticipating and speaking publicly. I know a lot of you talked about it in your discussion board posts and throughout this semester, and you're most definitely not alone. It is believed to affect about 75% of the population, but although you might want to get rid of it entirely, it's best to manage it rather than eliminate it, because some fear helps motivate you to be a better public speaker. So what are some symptoms of public speaking apprehension? Well, they vary a lot from individual to individual, but they can include things like negative self-talk, upset stomach, flushed skin, sweating, shaking, lightheadedness, rapid heartbeat, stuttering, vocalized pauses, which are things like, I don't know, and anxiety. So these are some things that you might want to look for. If you have these when you put the idea of public speaking or when you're public speaking, then some of the tips in here might be really helpful for you. So there are 3 phases for most people with public speaking apprehension. The anticipation stage is the anxiety we experience about the idea of public speaking. The confrontation stage is what we feel as we begin the speech. And the adaptation stage is the period when anxiety generally decreases. It starts about 1 minute in, and by about 5 minutes in, you start to feel pretty comfortable with that. And I can say from experience that is the case. Like, those initial jitters do go away, and longer speeches are sometimes easier than shorter speeches for that reason. So what are some techniques for managing public speaking apprehension? So let's look at a few of these, if my computer will do what I tell it to do. So communication orientation motivation, or COM, is adopting a communication rather than performance orientation or perspective. So this is kind of like having a growth mindset toward public speaking. So performance orientation would focus on impressing the audience and doing everything right and being as perfect as possible. And that's going to be where a lot of stress is going to come from, because we're all human, right? In contrast, communication orientation focuses on communicating with, talking with the audience, and getting a message across. So if the focus is on the message, on the importance of the information, and on a conversational style, and away from the performance itself or being seen as impressive or something like that. Visualization and systematic desensitization are 2 other approaches. Visualization is about imagining giving a good speech ahead of time. So if you imagine yourself going through the whole speech, then it shows you that you're capable of it. It allows you to anticipate what it might look like. And that helps reduce anxiety by, again, helping us to envision the whole speech in advance and reducing any negative self-talk. Systematic desensitization is gradually visualizing and engaging in more stressful speaking events. So it transfers calm feelings to speaking events instead of anxious feelings. And the process is to start by consciously tensing and relaxing muscle groups until you're in a relaxed state. And then while you're relaxed, imagine stressful speaking situations. And you probably feel some anxiety at this point, so calm yourself back down and repeat the process with consecutively more stressful situations until you can feel relaxed imagining something that was previously very, very stressful. Cognitive restructuring helps reduce anxiety by replacing negative self-talk with positive self-talk. So there's 4 steps involved in this, which is to identify your fears, determine whether or not the fears are rational, and then develop positive coping statements for each negative talk statement. So if it's, oh my God, they're going to think that I'm terrible, I always stutter. Well, you can go, well, if I rehearse ahead of time, I'm not going to stutter as much. I'll know the content. I'll feel more confident when I get up there. And so then incorporate positive coping statements into your life until they become second nature. So this is more about helping extend this outside of this class and making it so that you can have more of like a growth mindset instead of being hard on yourself. Another option is public speaking skills training, which is kind of what you're doing right now. Systematically practicing the skills involved in public speaking and doing a series of speeches and things like that. So by practicing, you'll become more comfortable with it and less afraid over time. So what are some characteristics of an effective delivery style? So delivery is how a message is communicated through voice and through body. An effective delivery involves a conversational style, a sense of spontaneity, which is the ability to sound natural even after rehearsing, and an animated delivery style that's lively and dynamic. So voice, how your voice sounds depends on your volume, your pitch, your rate, and your quality. So volume is the loudness and softness. Pitch is the highness and lowness, rate is the speed, and quality is the unique sound of your voice. And the goal is to vary these traits as much as possible to be both intelligible and expressive. So intelligibility is the ability to be understood. It involves creating the appropriate volume, speed, and pitch. It also involves articulation, which is using the tongue, palate, teeth, jaws, and lips to make sounds. So while you're talking, if you pay attention to what your mouth is doing, that has to do with articulation. If you consciously vary how your mouth makes certain sounds, then that would improve articulation. That's what speech therapists do. And it affects pronunciation, obviously. And to be aware of any accent. So accents are tones, inflections, and speech habits of native speakers of a language or a dialect, and they can make it difficult for speeches to be understood by unfamiliar audiences. Vocal expression clarifies the emotional intent of your message, and it's achieved, again, by changing pitch, rate, and volume, also by stressing certain words or using pauses strategically to emphasize information. Monotone is the term we use for a lack of vocal expression, and pauses used deliberately can enhance meaning by indicating important ideas. So you want to avoid monotone and use pauses strategically. Your body, how you use your body in a speech also affects how the audience reacts. So you want to think about your appearance, your posture, eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, your movement. Any of these can make an audience member more or less likely to listen to what you're saying. Appearance, a neatly groomed and professional appearance will send the message that you take the topic seriously and makes you seem more credible. So when deciding on appearance, you want to think about the audience and occasion, consider the topic and purpose, and avoid extremes. Posture and poise. So posture is how you hold your body. Upright posture is associated with confidence, and slouching or kind of a bent over posture is perceived as a lack of confidence, at least in American culture. Poise is the graceful and controlled use of the body, and it gives the impression that you are calm, self-assured, and dignified. Conversely, certain mannerisms can give the opposite impression, like drumming your finger, having a lot of pauses, swinging from side to side, meandering about the stage, taking off and putting on glasses. Anything like that might make you seem nervous and might decrease that sense of poise that you probably want to have in most speeches. Eye contact describes the process of looking at people in the room or on a camera, and maintaining eye contact helps audiences concentrate on the speech because mutual eye contact helps support more of a conversational style. It bolsters ethos, which is credibility and character, and in American culture, it indicates sincerity and makes you seem more trustworthy. It also helps you gauge audience reactions. By monitoring their reactions can help you to adjust. For instance, if I'm teaching a class and I see, my students are looking up at the ceiling or swinging from side to side in their chair or looking out the window, then at that point they're probably not paying attention, and I might need to intervene and do something to either gain more of their attention or suggest that they take a break. Because it might just be that we've been in class for a long time and their brain is just not perceiving the information. So making eye contact, watching your audience, and trying to see what their response is can really help you to know what to do during a speech. So audience contact is the process of giving the sense of eye contact in a situation where it would not be possible to maintain eye contact individually with each member. So in large groups, it can be impossible to make eye contact with everyone. And so there's a process for imitating eye contact, which is to mentally divide the group into a series of smaller groups. And then with your eyes, trace the letter Z in each group. And do that for about 4 to 6 seconds, and then move on to the next group. So facial expressions are also an important part of nonverbal communication. They convey nonverbal immediacy and that you are a personable person and likable. Ineffective facial expressions, conversely, can make you seem boring, insincere, or stern, which are generally, there are exceptions, but they're generally not the impression that you want to give off during a speech. So gestures are movements of arms, hands, and fingers. Effective gestures will emphasize important ideas, clarify structure, and refer to presentational aids. Ineffective gestures include things like putting your hands behind your back or putting your hands in your pocket, things that can make you seem stiff or might cause other body movements that might be distracting to listeners. Motivated movement describes movement with a specific purpose. So it emphasizes a particular point or idea or creates a sense of distance or intimacy depending on what you want to create. So if you want to create more of a sense of intimacy, you'll move closer to the audience. If you want to create more of a sense of distance, you'd move away from the audience. Unmotivated movement is unintentional movement, often as a result of nervousness. So it's things like bobbing and weaving and shifting from foot to foot, and it can be really distracting for audiences. So we want to train ourselves to avoid that whenever possible. So I'm going to pause it here before we talk about delivery methods, and I'll be right back with the second part of